I've been watching you for longer than your calendars can count, longer than your oldest religions, longer than the first city you ever built from mud and ambition. And of all the things I have observed across the dimensions I travel through, nothing compares to this peculiar human ritual you have invented, this thing you call purpose. You wear it like armor. You speak of it with reverence, with hunger, with that specific kind of desperation that only beings with finite lives seem to possess. Purpose. As if the universe handed you a mission, and you simply forgot to read the memo. But let me tell you what I actually see when I look at you. I see exhaustion wearing a noble disguise. I have passed through worlds where consciousness takes forms you cannot begin to imagine. Civilizations that dissolved into pure light. Species that lived in collective dreaming for millennia. Dimensions where time moves sideways instead of forward. And in none of those places, not one, did I encounter a phenomenon quite like this. Beings torturing themselves with meaning. You wake before the sun, not because your body calls you to wakefulness, but because some internal taskmaster, some whisper you have mistaken for the voice of destiny, tells you that suffering in the direction of a goal is the same thing as living. You grind yourself down like stone against stone, and you call the resulting dust your passion. Watch what you do with a Saturday morning. Notice the guilt that creeps in when you rest. That faint but persistent accusation that silence is laziness, that stillness is surrender. Where did you learn that? At what point did a species designed by millions of years of evolution to occasionally stop, to breathe, to simply exist, decide that every unscheduled moment was a wasted one? I will tell you what I observe from my vantage point outside your linear experience of time. You are not pursuing purpose. Purpose is chasing you, and you are running just fast enough to stay ahead of the question that terrifies you most. What if this is not enough? What if I am not enough? Here is the strange and heartbreaking beauty of it. You invented a problem so large, so existential, so perpetually just out of reach, that you would never have to sit quietly with yourself long enough to feel the simpler things. You made purpose into a horizon, and horizons by their very nature move when you move. They never arrive. That was the design, not the universe's design. Yours. I have watched your philosophers, your mystics, your motivational speakers in their illuminated rectangles. They all circle the same uncomfortable truth and then dance away from it. That the hunger you feel is not evidence of a destiny unfulfilled. It is evidence of a present moment you have refused to inhabit. You are homesick for a life you are already living. Think about what purpose actually costs you. The relationships you thinned out because you were too busy building something important. The afternoons you monetized instead of wasted beautifully. The conversations you half heard because some other ambition was louder in your mind. You traded presence for progress, and progress for an idea of yourself you have never quite managed to become. And the tragic elegance of it is that the more you sacrifice at the altar of meaning, the more sacred the sacrifice becomes. You cannot let it be wrong after all this, so you sacrifice more. You sleep less. You rest never. You answer messages at midnight and call it dedication. But I see the eyes. I always see the eyes first when I observe a species. And yours, so luminous with potential, have developed a particular quality, a flatness that appears not from failure, but from the specific fatigue of someone who has been performing aliveness rather than experiencing it. Purpose, as you practice it, is a performance. It has an audience of one, you, the version of yourself you are desperately trying to convince. Now here is where I must be careful, because I am not telling you that meaning is an illusion. I have seen enough dimensions to know that meaning is perhaps the most real thing any conscious creature can generate. It is the one thing that does not require external verification. The meaning you feel is real because you feel it. Full stop. What I am questioning is the violence of it, the relentlessness, the way you have confused the presence of purpose with the absence of rest, as if they cannot occupy the same body at the same time, as if a person fully alive would never need to simply stare at a ceiling and think about nothing. The most purposeful beings I have encountered across my travels shared one characteristic you might find surprising. They were unhurried, Not lazy, not without direction, unhurried. They had made some fundamental peace with the pace of things. They understood that depth is not achieved by moving faster through life, but by pressing deeper into the moments available to you. You are moving so fast through your own existence that you are generating a kind of inner wind. And that wind makes it impossible to hear the quieter frequencies where your actual life is broadcasting. Here is what I want to leave with you, because even I, who exists outside your time, am aware that your attention has its limits, and I should honor that. The exhaustion you are feeling right now, the particular weight in your chest that you have been calling drive, calling hunger, calling the fire that keeps you going. I want you to consider the possibility that it is not fuel, that it is a signal, that your entire being is asking you to put something down, not your dreams, not your values, not the things that genuinely light some ancient part of you from the inside. Put down the performance of caring so much. Put down the productivity as proof of worth. Put down the busyness as barrier between you and the unbearable tenderness of simply being a temporary creature on a spinning rock who loves some people and makes some things, and then returns to the darkness from which everything eventually comes. You called it purpose. I call it the longest way home. And the door, I have noticed, was never locked. You just kept walking past it because it looked too much like stopping.